So what I'd like to share right now is the differences in what I'm talking about for model photography. This is not about portrait photography. They really run parallel to one another. Some weave back and forth, but what I'm talking about here and want to show is giving the model enough information that she can give you the pictures versus how a portrait photographer takes pictures. A portrait photographer has a certain amount of work he needs to get done during the day. Perhaps he does high school seniors, he does weddings, and he's on a time restraint for the day. So typically what they're doing is they're posing, they're putting the body parts where they need them. It would not be unusual for a portrait photographer to ask a model to sit like this and her hands are perhaps on a table and walk up and actually tilt her head, pull it down like this, and actually touch her face and do this. And that is totally appropriate to do that from a portrait photographer's viewpoint. And then he's going to, if it's a looking off camera, he might actually have a mark on the wall for her to look exactly at that spot. For instance, if he wants to look like this, he's like, look at the orange dot. Well, in model photography, we don't do that. So we have to explain to the model, you know, whereabout she has to look and why she's looking there. You can't just say, for instance, look at that dot, or as far as the education later, there really isn't any. I mean, you could, but what happens is the model becomes, in my opinion, a little bit too obedient. And they become very static because now they're thinking, oh, okay, I'll look exactly there. And she thinks, oh, I'm going to, you know, be so great and so good, I'm not going to move. So what happens is this is what you get. She just freezes because she's concentrating on being a good model to look in that space. We don't want to do that. We want to be able to teach a model to look at different places. So for instance, if I was going to do a headshot in the studio and then later I'm going to go outside for a comp card shoot, if I tell her to look at the orange mark on the wall, there is no orange mark outside. So that's why I'm not going to pick out anything specific in the studio for her to look at. I'm going to explain to her where to look and why. And this is what we're going to break down in episodes after this. It's very specific in the zone of why I want her to look here, and if I'm looking over here, what she needs to show me. So again, we're trying to create a thinking model for the day, not an obedient model, because there really is a difference. You want to empower the model to slowly, over time, give you images versus just showing her what to do. So I'll give her information and then I will take it a little step further and a little step further, whereas in a portrait photographer, they might shift in the studio to different sets. It's like, okay, now we're going to do this, and I want you to sit, because he knows the poses that work. He'll say, I want you to do this, and I want you to do this, and he'll typically even hold the position. They even have books where it's like, I'll take a number 21. I'll do pose number 64. There are actually posing books out there, and that you could flip through and say, for that type of session, I would like to have, you know, the set background number 5, and I want to do pose 64. That is much more in a portrait studio. You don't have that luxury as a model photographer. You have to bring that to the table. So as a man, you have to not only be able to explain what you want, you have to, I feel, be able to show what you want. Absolutely. Does it look sillier when a man does it? Is the model going to laugh? Well, yeah, she probably is going to laugh. But that's a good thing. You're building down some barriers. You're having fun for the day. So I see the difference when men try and explain it verbally, I want you to do this, versus a man coming up and actually doing it. I think that you typically are going to have to learn verbally, and you're going to have to physically show a model. So I'm here to try and show you how to use your body so that you can show the model, and hopefully she can see it. I have to say, as a woman photographer, I absolutely have an advantage, because when I show something, she can see it immediately. That's why I do feel woman to woman, it absolutely does help. But you as a photographer can learn some of the basics to show her, and hopefully it will help her see and not just hear what you want. So in the next lessons, we're going to go on and we're going to see about working with the head and see how we progress during the day.